without any further ado, I want to officially welcome all of you to our Seabourn consumer event. This is an opportunity for us to chat with the executives and our partners on the other side of our world, which is in this case Steve Smotrys, who heads the sales team for Seabourn. And I'm going to properly introduce you in just one second. We're going to go through a couple of housekeeping items in a minute. And I also, for those that have joined us in previous consumer events, you will know that I like to push out a couple of polls to see who's joining us in today's event. So let me do this and go ahead and spotlight Steve. And then let me spotlight myself. There we go.
Hey, there we go.
So can you all see us center stage, front and center? Yes? Okay, awesome. So, perfect. So, Steve, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm great, Carlos. Thanks for joining, for having me. I'm really excited to have a conversation with you, and always great to see you and your team.
Excellent. Oh, thank you. And so a quick introduction. I am Carlos Edery. I'm the CEO of Luxury Cruise Connections. We are that luxury cruise agency that most of you guys know and have dealt with, and hopefully we're taking good care of you. And on my other side, right here on the screen, is Steve Smotrys. Steve, would you mind sharing with our audience today who you are and what you do for Seabourn?
Sure. Thanks again for having me, and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So my name is Steve Smotrys. I'm head of sales for Seabourn. I oversee North America, Australia, Latin America, and Asia. And I've been with Seabourn for about 3.5 years, but I've been in the cruise industry for 23 years. So been with a number of different brands, but all under the Carnival Corporation umbrella, which is the largest cruise corporation in the world with 9 different cruise lines. But these last 3 years being with Seabourn, and it's just such an incredible brand. I'm so passionate about it. I actually sailed on it before I came over to work with the brand, and I couldn't be more excited to where we're going and the great experiences that we're curating for our guests. So I'm really excited to share a little bit of that today.
So thank you very much to put some time away in your busy schedule to actually join us and spend some time with us and with our audience and our team, talking about Seabourn and learning about the brand and what what's new going on with Seabourn and so forth. And I know again, for those that hadn't joined me when I joined us when I said this a few minutes ago. Steve and I go way back. We've known each other for many years now.
Yeah.
There's a few people in this industry that I would consider industry friends, and Steve is definitely one of them.
Likewise.
I'm extremely proud and happy to let me just put it this way. We don't. I get to talk to you often. But I know that that's not the norm. I know that you have a big responsibility on your shoulders. There's a lot of people in the Seabourn organization that look up to you, and I know how busy you are. So I don't take this opportunity for granted. And for those that are in our audience, you should know that often when we have consumer events. We have all sorts of people and experts and industry experts and different levels of the different organizations. But Steve here, he has, he sits in the big table. So if you have questions that you want to ask, this is when take that opportunity. And I'm very appreciative of that, of such.
Well, likewise, Carlos, thank you so much again. It's as you said, it's I consider you a friend as well, and your team. It's in this industry, it's full of people that are full of passion, and you guys exude that passion, which is I appreciate so much, and I think that's why we've connected so well. And Carlos also on our advisory board, which is really, really important for us to make sure that we're always pushing the envelope and getting better as a brand. So appreciate everything that you guys all do as a partner. And yeah, it's just great to be able to spend a little time with you today.
Not to continue to, to say this, but it's easy to do business with you guys, right? It's easy. It's a pleasure because it's easy. And the message to our audience on this is, one of the big advantages of working together and working with Seabourn is that, for as big as a carnival organization is, this relationship is so close and so tight that it really allows us to take the experience for our guests to another level, both in, before the trip, but also during the trip. And it's easy for us to, when something happens and issues arise, because they do happen throughout the world with so many unexpected things that happen throughout the world. I'm always happy to be dealing with your team because, it's a pleasure, right? They make it easy. And as we get started with today's consumer event, I want to know from those that are in our audience, have you sailed with Seabourn before? And so you're going to see a little pop-up come up in your screen, and I want to hear your answers. I want to know who's in our audience today, and I want to know what percentage of you guys that are listening to us today have actually sailed on Seabourn before. So I want to know.
I love that.
I want to know. All right, good. So, and the same way I just pushed this poll, I'm going to push a couple more polls throughout our event, because I always want to know a little bit about our audience. And so today we have a good 38% of you guys that have sailed with Seabourn before,
Okay.
36% of you that have sailed with Seabourn before, 64% that you have that have not. Here I'm sharing the results here with you guys.
Well, this is great. This is great because I think especially for those who haven't but are interested, it's a great opportunity to really maybe answer some of the questions that maybe have you on the fence. So
Absolutely. And so for those that are participating actively on today's event, there is a little chat box at the bottom of your screen. I'm typing hello. So you're going to see a little bubble pop up in the bottom of your screen. Remember, that is where I want you guys to type your questions. We will go through your list of questions at the end of the event and make sure that we cover every single one of them. If anybody wants to know anything about what we are talking about at the moment, and you feel that it's worth interrupting, please do so. We'll be happy to interrupt and answer your questions as well. Okay. So without any further ado, let's get to the meat of our conversation today.
Yeah.
Steve, tell me, it's from an overview perspective, what is Seabourn? Who is Seabourn for? What do you guys stand for as a brand?
That's great. A great way to kick off. So Seabourn is, ultra luxury cruising at its best. Our ships are small and intimate because we think really to really deliver a top-notch luxury experience, whether you're on a cruise ship or a hotel or anything like that, that you can really accomplish that more if you've got a smaller audience, because that way you can personalize the experience for the guests. What we really take a lot of pride in is not only being high touch luxury service on board, but our team is, I always like to refer to it as a living, breathing culture on board, that the team embraces that culture. And what it is not just about delivering that service, but it's also doing it in a way where they create a relationship with the guests. They get to know the guests. They get to know their name, their preferences, so that they can start to anticipate what the guests might want. And I think there's just something special about that when you create that kind of connection when you're on vacation and have that kind of relationship that you're building. So that's really kind of the secret sauce, but our ships are really beautiful. We have one of the youngest luxury fleets in the industry. We've got 5 great ocean ships that range between 450 and 600 guests. And then we've got 2 brand new expedition ships that are only 264 guests, so a little bit more intimate. And then it's really it's an all-inclusive experience. All your drinks, all your culinary experiences are all included on board. And even though the ships are small and intimate, you'd be surprised about how many options there are. So for example, on our 600 passenger ships, you're going to have 5 different restaurants every night to choose from. And that's pretty incredible when you're talking about a small ship to be able to have that many different options from a restaurant perspective. And that doesn't even include if you wanted to have room service. And room service isn't just they're delivering you, a typical room service menu. They're bringing you whatever they're serving in the restaurant that night. They're going to bring that. They're going to set the table. You can do it out on your veranda, like my veranda right here. They'll set it like you're in the dining room and you're having a full like restaurant experience. So it's these kind of elevated experiences like that. Not to mention world-class spa and wellness experience. A lot of entertainment. There's multiple entertainment options every single night. And then I think it's what's really important also to mention, Carlos, is that it is a very casual experience. We've noticed that there's this trend in the luxury space where guests want to be more relaxed. They don't want to get dressed up. Now we do have we'll have like one formal night. And if you don't want to get dressed up, we have dining options where you don't have to get dressed up. But some people want to, once or twice. But predominantly throughout your cruise, it's going to be a very casual experience, more kind of country club casual experience on board. So, and I think our guests really, really love that relaxed atmosphere as well. So I think that kind of gives you a nice little
Gives me
overarching.
it does. But now I'm going to ask you, a more specific question.
Okay.
Who is it for? Like, who is the Seabourn guest?
Yeah, and I think it's those people that are looking for an elevated experience. I always like to compare it if especially for those who aren't cruisers, and we know there's a lot of people who are like, I don't know if cruising's for me because their vision of a cruise is like these big gigantic ships with a ton of people on board. Again, these are small ships. It's less like a cruise and more like if you stayed at a luxury boutique hotel. That is more the experience. But then, unlike a boutique luxury hotel, everything's included, all your meals, all your drinks. Um, you've got all this great entertainment. So there's so many more options and so much that's included. So I think it's those guests that are, again, they want a relaxed environment, but they do want an elevated experience. Every single accommodation is a suite with a veranda. So you're going to get amazing accommodations as well. So I think it is for those guests like relaxed, but also like want that luxury experience.
So, so in the luxury space, there's a lot of players, right? Now more than ever, there's new players starting to advertise and new players actually sailing the waters. Um, you know, you've been in this industry for a long time. I think between you and I can give our audience a pretty good response to the following question. How do you compare with the others? Like,
Yeah.
how if I am a luxury traveler, somebody, I like to be comfortable when I travel. I like, you know, a luxurious experience. I like to be serviced. I like, etc. But everybody out there and their mother is saying, we're all inclusive and we give you the best service and we have high,
Yeah.
crew to guest ratio and space to guest ratio. Like,
Sure.
at one point it becomes a lot of blah 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 blah. Like,
Yeah, it's a
how
lot of
do
noise.
you differentiate? Like, where do you stand apart from everybody else?
Yeah, it's a great question because I think luxury becomes very subjective. It's different for everybody else. And then, like to your point, everybody out there is saying they're luxury, they're luxury, and then it becomes like, okay, well, what is really luxury and what's not? And I think it's a bit of a personal choice. Um, Seabourn was one of the founders of this ultra luxury space in the cruise market. So we've been doing it a long time, and over that time, you kind of refine and make and listen to your guests, the feedback. But I think to be able to deliver the service to the level that our guests expect, you, that is something that you really have to, it's a fine line of how you deliver that. And, I think all inclusiveness is really important. I think that's part of it, that our guests are only taking their card out of their pocket to open their door. other than that, they never have to do that. And I think so it's simple things like that. I think it's the anticipation. I think that is a huge part of it. But I think also the size of the ships really goes a long way. There's other players out there that are larger ships that go like, oh yeah, we're luxury, and you get more choice. But like I've been on some of those other experiences, you lose that personal connection component when you hit a certain point of number of passengers on board where you're not going to be able to deliver that personal connection the same way. So, and I think it's a style thing as well. So as I mentioned, there's other cruise lines out there. I'm sure you've been on some. I've been on a number where it's a little bit more formal in feel and style and decor. One of the things I always get, Carlos, that's kind of along your question is, oh, you guys don't have butlers. So there's a perception that the service is not the same because you don't have butlers. Now that was a choice that we made because the word butler feels too, for lack of a better word,
Formal.
pretentious to us. It feels too formal. The reality is we have teams of two called suite host and suite attendant that work together, and they will do everything a butler would do on any other cruise line. But like for example, I was on another cruise line, had a butler. I just got, day of traveling, got to my suite. I mean, he was really, really nice and everything, but he was so insistent, like, let me unpack for you, let me unpack for you. And I was like, no, I really like to just unpack myself. And he was like so like persistent about it. Um, and our team, they're not going to do that. But if you say, hey, I've had a long day of travel, would you unpack for me? And they're like happy to do that. How would you like it? And they're going to more ask you, what can we do for you to make your experience better or to help you or make you happier right now? It's more of that. It's more of like it's a little bit more of a passive, I guess, approach to that, delivering that service. But at the same time, they're going to try to anticipate as well. So I think that's a great example of how we're a little bit different than others out there.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna add a couple of things to that story. I think a very up and coming trend in the luxury space in general, luxury consumers in general, right, is that for example, some of the wealthiest people in the world are not walking around wearing branded t-shirts or branded clothing, right? They're wearing a Loro Piana, they're
Tommy
wearing,
Bahama shirt or something
yeah,
like
no.
that.
But what it means is that I think at the core what that means is luxury has transformed into the ability of a brand to be able to deliver personalized experiences that create wow factors, right? Quality over pretentiousness. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
You
Great
know,
position.
is about understanding what a guest truly appreciates at the core and then delivering on those things.
That's right.
And I know that's, you know, you haven't said, I'm surprised you haven't said it. And I think you just don't want to sound repetitive, but the truth is that every time we talk about Seabourn, we're talking about Seabourn moments. And for those that don't know what that means, this is a thing within Seabourn. It's an actual thing where they're not just saying they deliver Seabourn moments, they're actually talking about it constantly. And they've made it a thing within Seabourn where the crew is constantly looking to create this wow, unexpected, delightful moments that really create, that difference in the experience. And so is very, everybody talks about, our service or service, it's great to have service, but what I can say from my perspective is that Seabourn actually quantifies it. Like they're actually looking to, how many Seabourn moments did we deliver on this trip, right?
Yeah, without a
And
doubt.
and this is how you actually turn that blah 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 of service into actionable, stuff, right?
Yeah, and I'm glad, and I love it that I kind of teed it all up and let you say it because I wanted to more paint the picture of this personalization, what this is all about, this anticipation, because at the end of and this culture again, and they talk about on board, they will talk about it all the time internally about Seabourn moments. And to your point, quantifying it. How many do we deliver this cruise? How many, great feedback that we get, because it is creating those surprise and delight moments. And yeah, we do call them Seabourn moments. They are powerful moments that just really it's one of those moments can make a cruise for a guest. Just this really special, because it makes you feel special. Everybody wants to feel special at the end of the day. And that is their mission. That is their passion. We want to make everybody on board feel special.
And so some of those things that you guys do that you're just capable of doing because your hardware allows it, right? Which becomes a Seabourn moment for a lot of people because they're really not expecting to have such a great time, is when you bring down the marina and you do that, caviar and can you share with us what one of those experiences?
Yeah. So these are what we call kind of signature Seabourn experiences. We don't have them on every single sailing, but like in the Caribbean, sometimes in Greek Isles, sometimes like in Thailand, places like that, we'll anchor the ship, and the unique design of our ships is the back opens up, and we launch water sports off the back. So we have like a banana boat and the donut that they're towing with with a Zodiac, and you can go scuba. We've got paddle boards. So also we got all these water toys out on the water. It's almost like a yacht experience. It's much more like that. These ships were made to resemble and deliver more of a yacht-like experience. So those are fantastic. And then what you mentioned, our caviar in the surf, that is another signature Seabourn experience, where we go to a private beach. There's no one else around. Everybody's out having a great time, really beautiful beach. And then from the ship, because we say you can have caviar and champagne anytime, anywhere on board, you just have to ask. But on this particular day, we bring the caviar on a Zodiac. They're waving the Seabourn flag, and they've got the siren going, and then everybody wades out into the water, and they serve champagne and caviar on a surfboard. And it is something that everybody talks about, everybody loves. So it's just these kind of experiences that we try to make that are special and unique only to Seabourn, are just so much fun. And it's interesting, Carlos, I just sailed in October, and I was with a number of travel advisors who had been on other cruise line, had not been on Seabourn. And one in particular, I said, I don't want to talk to you until about 5 days in, and then I want to hear feedback from you. And I said, okay, first instinct, what is it? And she said, this is just more fun. Anything else I've been on for this kind of size ship, it's just more fun. And, I think it really kind of sums up. It's not, look, it was given that she was going to get high-end, high-touch service, but I think that was what surprised her the most. So, I think that kind of paints a little bit of a picture too.
Awesome. I'm going to pause for a second to remind everybody that I'm seeing your questions come in. I want you to know that we will get back to each one of those questions, and I just want to kind of flow through the conversation, and then we're going to get back and retouch on each one of those questions that are coming through in a second. Also, there's some of these questions that are coming in are part of kind of the questions that I've planned out for Steve. So bear with us for a sec. And also, as we do that, I also want to push another poll. Have you done business with Luxury Cruise Connections in the past? Have you done business with us? Are you a active guest of Luxury Cruise Connections? If you are, I hope we're delivering on the expectation of good service, or over-delivering. I might correct myself. And for those that haven't done business with us, then hopefully this will be an opportunity for us to get to know each other, and a little bit of a window for us to get to connect, and hopefully allow us to take care of what we consider to be the most precious asset in your life, which is your free time. So glad to see that actually 52% of you guys have not done business with us, and 48% new results, 46 and 54. Let me share those results with you guys. All right, so we got 54% of you that have not done business with Luxury Cruise Connections yet. And I love that, because this events that we do is an incredible opportunity for us to showcase a little bit of what we do and to showcase the relationship that we have with our cruise line partners like Seabourn and Steve and the team. So hopefully you'll be inspired to give us an opportunity to take care of your future trips. And thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your time with us. And
Love to have new
Steve,
people.
love
having new people.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And so let's go into talking about food a little bit and cuisine.
Yeah. Culinary.
There was a big announcement recently that Seabourn pushed out. So for those that don't know this, Seabourn had partnered with Thomas Keller, the famous chef for many, many years, delivering what they call the Thomas Keller restaurant.
Yeah.
And it had been a little bit of a signature restaurant for Seabourn for many years. It recently announced that Seabourn was, I guess, evolving that Thomas Keller restaurant into a new concept.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we had a great partnership with Chef Keller. And it was really kind of a steakhouse experience. And it was something that, I think really helped us kind of to have that next chapter of evolving culinary. I think everybody would agree that when you travel, one of the real joys is to try local culinary experiences, and if you're on a cruise ship, to try a lot of new great dishes and have a lot of different options. So that really, I think, helped us move to the next level. But we're always polling our guests. We always want to get feedback of what guests want, how we can get better. And as we polled guests, we saw a trend over and over again recently, which was one, what kind of culinary experiences are you looking for? And what we found is the steakhouse experience was kind of falling in the middle of the pack. What was rising to the top was Mediterranean, Italian, fresher ingredients, those kind of things. The other thing we did is we polled, okay, all of our restaurants on board, what's your favorite? Number one was always Earth and Ocean. Number two was sushi. Number three was our main restaurant. And actually, Thomas Keller 4 had dropped a little bit and was actually number 4. We think that has more to do with the steakhouse experience. Now, people loved it and everything. I'm not saying like, oh, it felt fallen out of favor, but I think it was just the type of cuisine that people were looking for. So we actually talked to Chef Keller about evolving and maybe going a different direction. And ultimately, we said, okay, well, the two favorite restaurants are Earth and Ocean and Sushi. Those are both curated by our internal executive chef, Chef Tony Egger. And so we said, okay, Chef Tony, if you were to take this restaurant and take it to a whole new level with the feedback we've had, what would you do? And he came up with this new concept called Soli. And Soli is Mediterranean inspired, is inspired by the destinations and places that we visit. We have a lot of Mediterranean content. And so it's taking ingredients from those different places and building and creating this really creative Mediterranean menu. So we're super excited about this. Again, it's a great chapter. We said thank you so much to Chef Keller, but and it wasn't a cost savings thing or anything like that. We invested all of that, what we were spending on that restaurant, into this new culinary experience. And I think it really, it's just sometimes you just got to change and keep things fresh. The other great thing about it is on Seabourn Encore and Ovation, our two larger ships, the restaurant there had a outside alfresco dining option, but because of the Thomas Keller Grill experience, we really couldn't take that outside. But now with Soli, we will be able to utilize that space, which is a great back of the ship, being outside, having, think about sailing in someplace like the Mediterranean, where it's warm, and you're having this amazing meal outside. So we're really excited. It's already been rolled out to one ship on Seabourn Quest. It'll be rolled out to the rest of the fleet by the end of May. And so far, the feedback's been fantastic. It's always about pushing the envelope, evolving the culinary experience, and taking it to the next level. Oh, Carlos, there we go.
Sorry. So those that have sailed on Quest since the last couple of months have already experienced Soli,
Yeah.
and the feedback has been great. And so if anybody has a future cruise booked already with Seabourn, for say June, they wouldn't be able to make reservations for Thomas Keller, because then Soli is
They may be able to. So it depends on when that particular ship is being rolled out. So I believe that we have the schedule on seabourn.com. So that information is out there that we can do. And it's also Carlos, important to mention our oldest ship, Seabourn Odyssey, was actually sold and will be leaving the fleet in September. We're leaving Thomas Keller Grill on that ship until she leaves the fleet in September. So that's the one exception.
okay. And that's for that one. And then throughout between now and September, then progressively every single one of these ships are going to be refurbished to carry Soli. Okay, now let's talk about is there an upcharge? Is there a fee? Like what restaurants do you have to pay a fee for? Tell us about that story.
No extra charge for any of the restaurants. All restaurants are part of your cruise fare. So there's nothing there. And there are other luxury cruise lines who do charge an upcharge for certain restaurants. We do not. So even Soli, which is our specialty restaurant, there is no extra charge. You do need to make a reservation in that restaurant, but no extra charge there. I also want to mention on the culinary side, we've also, as I mentioned, sushi was such a popular, it's one of our most popular restaurants, like very authentic sushi experience. We only had that restaurant on Ovation and Encore because those are our largest ships. So we have the dedicated restaurant there. But it was so popular, we've now rolled it out to the rest of the fleet. So you can go to our club where we have nightly entertainment, have a very casual dinner, and it's that same sushi menu. So just serving it in a very relaxed environment, but also on the expedition ships. So that's something else that we've added recently, which has been really popular.
Which tees up my next question, which is on your cuisine offering, how do you compare with the other luxury brands? Like what would be the expectation of a guest that maybe has sailed on Regent or Crystal or Silver Sea before, or that is used to going to Four Seasons or Ritz-Carlton's or Aman's or luxury brands in terms of cuisine on board?
Yeah, the expectation should be as high as any of those experiences. We invest so much in the culinary because we know it is a priority in guests' minds when they're traveling. So we are always trying to elevate that. Our restaurant is our main restaurant. We've added a lot of new dishes to that menu. We're constantly trying to get better there as well. It should be considered, and the expectation of our guests should be as high as any other travel experience out there. So we have a lot of confidence in our culinary experience.
Good. That's important. It's very important for
Yes.
Most of our guests. That's a very typical question. And let's talk about pricing in general and inclusions. Now I know that we talked about it a little bit, but tell me more about what are the things that people would have to pay for? Let's talk about the pricing. Let's talk about your pricing strategy and structure. When I'm booking a Seabourn cruise, what are those components that that are not included in your typical fare?
Yeah, so the two main things that aren't included are one, shore excursions, and then one, spa and wellness. So we do have on the spa and wellness, there are some classes that are complimentary, but if you want to we've got a world-class wellness experience that's curated by a gentleman named Andrew Weil, who is a world-renowned wellness specialist. So if you want to do things like meditation or acupuncture, things like that. So there is an extra charge for those kind of things. So that's one. Shore excursions, now that was another decision. We've gone back and forth about this, or whether we should include that. The reason we have not, in talking to our guests, most say, please don't include excursions, because on those experiences where you do have excursions included, it's usually you've got a couple different options. What we've found is a lot of our guests, maybe they want to do a private car in a certain port. And in their minds, well, I've already paid for this excursion, but that's not what I want to do. I want to go do something else, or again, private car, which we can put together for them as well. So instead of that, what we've done is included a lot of shipboard credit, and most of our offers will have a pretty good size shipboard credit. Like our current offer has up to $1,000 per suite. And then that's a great, again, everything else is really on the ship is included. So you're using your shipboard credit for either spa or ship or shore excursions. And again, I think this is back to kind of the whole conversation about luxury. Guests want to have choices. They want to do what they want to do and not be kind of, guided into a certain direction because that's like the excursion that's included. So that's the reason we haven't included that. The only other exception would be like high level. We've got a great wine and spirit collection on board. That's all part of your cruise fare. But if somebody wants something that's a little bit elevated, there's an extra charge there. So, but not too many things. And then we haven't even gotten to expedition. But there, most of your experiences, most of your shore excursions, are included. So that's really kind of the exception.
Yeah. Um, you know, I guess the only other thing that people would have to think of is flights, which is also not included in your fares. Seabourn will never, well, at least until now, you have never marketed air inclusive fares. But what I'll say is because Seabourn is part of Carnival Corp and they're huge, the airfare contracts for both economy and business class that Seabourn has are insane. And so as an agency, for example, we rely heavily. I mean, thankfully, we have, there's a large part of our organization that also specializes in air and has a large corporate travel department. And we do, we're one of our organization is one of the top producers for American Airlines, United, and Delta in a region. I mean, we also have incredible contracts, but we are in a privileged position where we can use the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah,
and so always look for the best airfare deal for our clients. And more often than not, we realize that Seabourn offers incredible cruise airfare that really saves our guests a lot of money. And airfare has been, a conversation, especially in the last couple of years, because it has become very expensive to travel to some parts of the world.
It really has.
Sometimes my comment to that is, don't get disencouraged so quickly by what you see on Google or on Expedia or one of those websites. I'm not going to say that every single time, but more often than not, there's cruise airfare that you can use packaged into your program that can, save a couple of $1,000s.
Well, it's back to the choice as well, Carlos. So there's a lot of guests who want to use their miles. So again, we're not trying to box them into this is what you're going to get. It's creating more options for them at the end of the day.
Yeah. Excellent. So the only other general question I have for you is, where do you travel? Like, what parts of the world do you visit and when? Can we share that with our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So from an ocean perspective, I mentioned a little bit of Mediterranean. I think that's one of our specialties. We typically have a number of ships there throughout the year. And because Mediterranean just works so well with this size ship, what you'll find in our itineraries is we may be starting in a Rome or finishing in an Athens or Barcelona, something like that. But everything in between is more smaller, more off the beaten path destination. Then we'll go to some of the big highlights like a Mykonos or something like that. But we're also going to go to some really small, intimate places like Positano and where you can really go not only where it's not going to be crowded like with a ton of other cruise guests. Sometimes you see these like cruise ship parking lots in some of these ports. Um, but it's also going to give you a more immersive experience into the destination. Our guests really love that. So Mediterranean's big, all around Europe, also Western Europe and Northern Europe and up into Scandinavia. From a North America perspective, we've got a great Alaska experience. Now, even if you've been to Alaska, highly recommend for you trying with Seabourn, because as we talked about earlier, Carlos, with the marina that opens up there, we do what we call Ventures by Seabourn, where we have expedition team members on our ocean ship. We launch some kind of expedition-like experiences with Zodiacs off the back of the ship. So we'll go and anchor someplace and go explore with kayaks or Zodiacs and create that kind of, I always refer to as kind of like expedition light. Like if you're interested in an expedition, but you're not ready to take that plunge, try something like this and get your feet wet and get a little taste of what it's like. So we do a really different experience up in Alaska. Also like Canada, New England, extensive Caribbean content where we really do stuff, again, off the beaten path, more Southern Caribbean, really get into some of those smaller islands as well. And then all over Asia and Australia, New Zealand. So a lot of content around there, including world cruise as well. And then I think it's really important from a expedition perspective to mention the places that we can explore. These two ships we'd actually been doing expedition on our ocean ship, in particular Quest, and we did full expedition, but it was limited to how much you could do because the size of the ship. So we built these two state-of-the-art expedition ships. They're smaller, very maneuverable, very sustainability minded ships. Every single one of them has 24-member expedition team. They are this collection of scientists and academics, and they really bring these destinations to life. 24 Zodiacs on every single one. We've got 2 submarines where you can go 1,000 feet under. This is just a couple weeks ago where the ship has a reinforced hull. It wedged into the ice, and guests walk straight off the ship onto the ice. It's these kind of experiences that these ships can go and explore. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Where Seabourn is very different in this space is you get full expedition. You're going to go and have these amazing adventures every day. And then you go back to the ship and it's going to be like our ocean ship. You're going to have, great culinary experience, and you're going to have a spa and wellness program. You're going to have look at this amazing sauna that you can go. And this is not Photoshop. This is an actual picture. This ship is it's the best of both worlds. Full luxury on board, full expedition. A little different styling, as you can see, because we wanted to reflect kind of that be inspired by exploration. Yeah, this infinity pool is fantastic. It is such a great ship. So Seabourn Venture and Pursuit, going places like Antarctica, the Arctic, up the Amazon, the Kimberley in Australia. Really these incredible remote destinations that only an expedition ship, a true expedition ship, can go and explore. So I've done the Arctic and Antarctica, and I'll tell you, and I've done my fair share of travel. They are my favorite 2 travel experiences of all time. Just there's nothing like it. The immersion into nature, the immersion into wildlife, and the immersion into culture is all there for you. So it's truly a spectacular travel experience.
I want to talk about since we're talking about expedition, I want to talk about the Kimberleys.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they think expedition, they're thinking snow or ice or
Yeah.
glaciers, and yes, that is a big part of it, right? Penguins, whales, yes, that is a big part of expedition for sure. I think we've talked a lot about polar regions and in the last couple of years, every time we talk about expedition, and it's important to highlight the Kimberleys. And this is kind of an up and coming destination
Yes.
that you're going to start hearing more and more about. It's one of those places that I had not heard about 2 or 3 years ago. And now, since I've gotten so excited about expedition, I'm hearing more and more of it, because it's one of these remote places in the world where the only real way to get there is by cruise, by an expedition ship. And so for those that don't know what I'm talking about, is this northwest point of Australia. And I don't think I have a picture that I can share with you guys right now. If you happen to have one handy,
Yeah,
Steven.
I don't know if I have one there, but yeah, let me paint the picture a little bit. I haven't been. It's one of the highest things on my list now. But I spent a lot of time with our expedition team. One of them, I think, really framed it really well. He said, like, think about if you went millions of years ago back to someplace like the Grand Canyon or Sedona National Park, with those red rock formations, and the oceans at that time are like carving those valleys. And that's what's happening right now in the Kimberley. It's really kind of the land that time forgot. And you see these natural phenomena you don't see anywhere else in the world, where the tides are so powerful. So there's a place called Horizontal Falls. There's these narrow gaps in the rocks, and the tides are so powerful, and they're pushing the water through that the water goes sideways. So it looks like a waterfall that's going to horizontally. Um, Coral reefs that when the tides drop, the coral reefs are basically look like they're coming out of the water, and then the wildlife, the sea life will get stuck on top, and the birds will come and feed on the sea life. And there's just, again, these things that you don't experience anywhere else in the world. And it has really become a hot destination now, and continuing to grow.
Yeah, yeah. And there's different offerings when it comes to expedition. But a true balance of luxury
Yeah.
and immersion in an expedition is what you can find with Seabourn. Again, going back to choice, right?
Right.
If you want to go hardcore, you can do that with Seabourn. If you want to take it easier and relax and just have a nice place, because what people sometimes don't know is this expedition experiences, they're not like your typical cruise where you're off the ship a lot. You're actually on the ship quite a bit
Yep.
because there's just you're going to places that don't necessarily have a lot of infrastructure
Well, and
and
it's a
that have
good,
no infrastructure.
it's a good point, Carlos, because I think sometimes the word expedition, sometimes people are like, if whether you've got mobility issues or something like that, people are like, that sounds too
Too
much.
much.
In reality, you can do as much as you want or as little as you want. Like, we'll go and do landings on the Zodiacs, and they may go do a hike, but you don't need to go. You're going to see so much just on the Zodiac. We have a lot of guests that will just go on the Zodiac, and they'll tour them around, and they might go walk around on the shore for a couple minutes, but then the Zodiacs are going back and forth between the ship, and you can go back whenever you want. And just the ship is designed with floor to ceiling windows pretty much everywhere. So, the expedition team will come on the loudspeaker and go like, "Oh, there's whales on the starboard side." And all you have to do is like get up out of your chair and look, and there they are. So it's not like you're going to miss anything, and you can, again, do as little as you want or as much as you want and still see so much.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to basically spend a night on the Pursuit while I was in Miami. So I have not done an expedition cruise yet with Seabourn. I will as
Yeah.
soon as I can find the time. I'm not retired yet, but I will. But at least I had an opportunity to experience the ship, and I can say firsthand, is incredible. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful ship.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, we love it.
um, there's a lot going on with promotions and pricing and offers right now. For those that don't know what wave season is, this is more of an industry term, but you probably have seen this in a couple of advertisements out there. But wave season is basically the first 3 months of the year where most cruise lines, or if not all cruise lines, really rely upon to kind of ensure the year, like kind of like secure the year.
That's the tone.
Yeah, set the tone for the year, I guess. It's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
And so some of the most aggressive, like cruise lines will spend a disproportionate amount of advertising dollars during the first 3 months of the year than in any other
Yeah.
moment of the year. Right? Am I right?
Without a doubt.
So that's why it's called wave season. It's I guess the hottest season in the industry, and cruise lines take advantage of that to put out some of their best offers.
Yeah.
And right now, Seabourn has a great offer out there. Steve, do you mind sharing with our
Yeah.
audience today what the
Absolutely.
offer is?
Yeah, we have up to 25% off, which is pretty significant because we don't deeply discount except, on a rare occasion. So up to 25% off, up to $1,000 in shipboard credit per suite. And then you get a reduced deposit of 15% as well. And then there's sometimes there's some extra benefits that Carlos may have access to, that layer on top of that. But the offer itself is very rich. It tends to be kind of the best offer, and that's going to run until the end of this month.
Which brings me to a great question. For those that have not done business with Luxury Cruise Connections before, or for those that have not done business with Seabourn in the past, Steve, would there be, and I don't wanna cue this question up the wrong way, but would there be any reason why a guest would want to call Seabourn direct and book direct with Seabourn as opposed to calling Luxury Cruise Connections and making the booking?
No, look, we've got the guests that come and book direct through us, but a vast majority of business comes through partners like Luxury Cruise Connection. And we really believe that is the best experience for guests because it allows you to create a relationship with an advisor. Okay, if you're booking Seabourn every time, that's great. You can book that through them too, but then they're also going to help you with everything else. So you may want to do a different vacation. You want to might experience something different. But then if you've got that one person or that one team that is there, always got your back. They're experts in a lot of different products. I think there's nothing as valuable as the relationship between a client and a travel advisor. If you love travel, it's just essential to get
From
the
a price perspective, would they get any advantage by booking direct
no,
with Seabourn?
no price advantage at all. If anything, we tend to give some of our top partners like Luxury Cruise Connection extra incentives that you wouldn't get if you book direct.
I appreciate that. In fact, I want to share this with our audience today. What Steve mentioned to you guys is the published promotion that Seabourn has. But because we're one of their top partners, there's a series of itineraries that we've created exclusive packages that basically comes out, equals out to significant savings for guests. And these are packages inclusive of air, and a couple of hotel nights pre and post that you would not be able to get if you book directly with the cruise line. You would only be able to get those by booking through us. Basically, Seabourn has given us a deeper discount than what you get directly with Seabourn or that you'd see on their website. And we've created these amazing packages and these amazing experiences to make it like that one-stop shop. And we've kind of hand selected some of the best that we like, and combined them with great air contracts and hotel contracts. So we're sending some of this itineraries and some of these packages via our email marketing. So if you already receive our email marketing, you're going to see them. But for those that are going to receive the follow-up for this event, Denise is going to help me make sure that we're sending through also some of these exclusive packages that we've created with Seabourn in that email that are going to be exclusive for people that book through us. And for those that attended today's event and that are watching the recording and that would be inspired enough to make a booking with Seabourn within the next 2 weeks, we've also created a very special, unique, exclusive offer. And let me share my screen on this real quick. So there's a $300 shipboard credit valid for bookings before February 22nd. And so to put this in perspective, again, this $300 shipboard credit, it is an incentive that has been created for new bookings, which means that for those that, hopefully, I know that we have some guests that have already made bookings with Seabourn in the past. It is important to know that we created this incentive so that we can inspire you to hopefully make a new booking. So this is going to be combinable with new bookings at current pricing. Look forward to the opportunity of extending this to you and anybody that is watching this event, also transferable to friends or family. So please let us know if this is something of your interest. But I think that we shouldn't always just talk about pricing and promotions, I think we should do our job at inspiring our guests a little bit on some of the itineraries that are worth mentioning and that still have some availability. And I want to start with this itinerary. I don't have a map for this one, but maybe Steve can give us a little bit of a background. This is hot off the press.
Yeah,
This
brand new.
new redeployment for Seabourn Quest. Steve, tell me
Yeah.
about the itinerary. Why was it created? What happened here? Why did we come up with this last minute itinerary?
Yeah, we had a little change in some of our plans with charter that went away. So we decided to put together a great itinerary that we think would be really popular. Round trip Miami makes it really nice. It's 8 days. So even though it's round trip Miami, you can go pretty far because it is 8 days. So you can see some of the places on here which are fantastic. So British Virgin Islands, one of the most spectacular places. It's such a beautiful, beautiful island in the Caribbean. Then you've got the Carambola Beach. That's where we do the caviar and the surf. It's a completely private beach to Seabourn there. So San Juan, one of the only kind of larger ports that we're visiting. Again, we don't do a whole lot of the big ports like that, but we are doing it on this one. And then Half Moon Cay is a private beach as well. That is we're Holland America is one of our sister brands, and that is their private island, private beach. And so we'll be going there as well. So it's a really different itinerary than we typically do. And I think this is a great opportunity for a lot of new guests who want to try Seabourn.
So the reason why I mentioned this one, it's a little rare, right? Number
Yeah.
one, it wasn't there in their books a couple of weeks ago. It's a brand new itinerary that they deployed, but also Seabourn rarely sails out of Miami round trip. So it's a good opportunity if you want to avoid departing out of the islands and you want to do Caribbean. And I like the fact they're actually going down, deep south in the Caribbean because I love that area over there. But then also for those that haven't planned a little bit earlier in the year, I want to share some of these ideas too, because I don't know if you're noticing this pricing, right, for luxury cruise experience, right? And if you thought that was good, take a look at this. So here you have a beautiful 7-night itinerary starting at $29.74, right? And you're doing amazing Athens round trip itinerary. I also want to showcase this one over here, which I think is very, very spectacular. And again, it has very aggressive pricing. This is some availability that's still there for the Mediterranean for this 2024 season. And I love the sports. I mean, this is not stuff that you would visit normally in any of the larger ships. And Encore, it's one of my favorite ships on your fleet, except your expedition, of course.
Yeah.
But I also want to showcase
And what I'll mention real quick there too, Carlos. So if you think about compare this to like a luxury hotel by land. So if you kind of broke this down by a per day basis, these two that you showed, you're under $1,000 for a suite. That's probably going to be a luxury hotel in cities like Dubrovnik or in Italy or Athens. You're probably going to be paying more than $1,000 a night. That doesn't even include your meals. All your drinks, all your meals are included. So the value propositions are really strong.
100%, without a doubt. And then this one again on the Seabourn Encore, Athens to Istanbul. I think this is a beautiful, beautiful itinerary.
And I've done that itinerary. It's incredible. It is really incredible.
Have you been to Patmos?
I have. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. I'm looking for it. I think I'm gonna go visit Patmos this summer.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And
All
then
those little Greek isles, there's so many great ones. They all have a little different personality, but just like if you saw like the Mamma Mia movie, they're like just like that.
that's yeah, literally. And then we have the Sojourn doing Barcelona to Monte Carlo. So this is a very typical Western Mediterranean itinerary, right? And then we have now we go to Seabourn Quest in North America. So this is fall foliage season. I'm sorry. Well, is it? No.
It's kind of the very beginning, but it's a great way. I mean, look, the Northeast up there is so beautiful, even if you're not there when the seasons are changing. Places like Quebec City and Montreal and Halifax, they're just fantastic places to visit. So these are great itineraries.
And last but not least, again, the Seabourn Sojourn is then doing so what's hold on. So okay, this is the quest. I'm sorry. So Seabourn Sojourn, again, it stays in the Mediterranean for a little longer and then ends the season. It's toward the end of the season, right?
And those are both our smaller ships too. There's a 450 passenger ships.
Is the Sojourn staying in that area of the world or is coming over to the Americas?
She'll stay there pretty late into the season, into the winter. So she goes, yeah, she stays there, and then we'll move on to a different destination.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love this. I love this itineraries.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So good. I think we've covered a lot, right?
Yeah, is there some questions
Covered a
we
lot.
didn't? Are there questions that came through that we didn't
Yeah, yeah,
cover?
yeah. I'm gonna go through every
Yeah.
single one of those
All
questions.
right,
So
perfect.
hold on. So let me start from the beginning. I'm gonna go through all of them. If we already talked about it, then I'm just gonna skim through them. Cheryl was asking, are excursion included? By the way, how you doing, Cheryl? Thank you
Hi,
for
Cheryl.
love
Yeah,
you.
not included, but again, use that shipboard credit for shore excursion, and that's how it's kind of designed.
Correct. And Larry was asking about solo cruisers. What do
Yeah,
you?
absolutely. We've got a brand new solo cruiser program where we've got a number of sailings that go down to. So typically, if you're talking about like kind of the top suites, a lot of times that's 200%. Even if you're sailing, one person, you're still paying for two people basically. So we call it a single supplement of 100%. But if you're talking about our veranda suites, which are still beautiful, amazing, a lot of destinations, those are as low as 125%. So you pay the full cruise fare plus 25% of another person. That's pretty low. Typically, it's more like the 175 to 200. So we do have some sailings that are as low as 125.
Fantastic. So Larry, just think of, whenever you're ready to kind of plan something, let us know. Look, or I'm going to make sure that one of our advisors reaches out to you and connects with you. At least that you have one person that you can connect with. Because we're not just a call center. We want to make sure that we establish a relationship. And when you're ready, let us know kind of what you're interested in, and we'll look for those solo opportunities so that you can take advantage of those low single supplements.
Derek Diaz.
Okay, so Derek Diaz is going to be reaching out to you very soon. And then Tracy has a question. She had a bad experience on another one of your brands, not your brand, sorry, another luxury brand.
Another luxury brand.
At the end of the cruise, they docked a mile away from car parked in San Pedro. Shuttle didn't work well, and Regent didn't seem to think it was a problem. How do you treat your guests after they leave the ship? Just keeping it very real here.
It's a great question because really, I think it's important. It's the whole experience. When you leave for your vacation, like that's when it starts. So, we always offer transfers. Like you can get private card transfers that we can provide as well, from, like say from door to door. But if we're staying someplace like San Pedro, and no matter where you're going, we feel responsible for that as well, for your logistics afterwards. It's all part of your vacation, and we know it's all an extension of Seabourn. Now we're depending on third-party vendors for a lot of those things, like the transfers and whatnot, but we work closely with those vendors and make sure that we're delivering a full experience and not just letting you off the ship and then you're on your own.
Yeah, I think, Tracy, just, with Seabourn, while they don't include excursions, you have a lot of options, right? They do offer excursions that you can, of course, pay at an optional cost. But then you have that opportunity to do your own thing as well. I think that from a bigger scale, the coordination that Seabourn, the personal touch that Seabourn is able to provide for each one of their guests is that much, I guess, enhanced because of the size of the ships, right? And the amount of people.
That's right.
I guess shore excursions are always a challenge, right, for everybody. But I think you would find a very personal experience on Seabourn that you might welcome. Cheryl was asking quality of food, fresh fish. veggies and delicious fruit are important. The Seabourn pay close attention to quality.
One
And
100%. That's so, so important. You know, that we talked a little bit about Soli and, how we're getting sourcing local ingredients. And we do more and more of that where we're getting really fresh ingredients, really top notch proteins and things like that. Our sushi restaurant has fresh fish. It's some of the best sushi I've ever had. So the quality of the food is just is paramount. It's so, so important. So it is a high priority for us.
do water toys cost extra to use?
No, so that's all included in your cruise fare. So no extra there. You can do as many as you want and do all that. Again, it is very limited on the destinations where you are able to do that, but tends to happen in the Caribbean, Greek Isles, and Thailand tend to be the main ones.
And so the only water toy that I think you could expect to be at an extra cost is if you're in one of the expedition ships and you take the submarine, the submersible.
Yeah, they're more than toys.
Uh-huh.
They're more than toys.
More than toys.
They're big
Exactly.
toys. Yeah.
Exactly. How different will your experience be on the Pursuit?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the onboard's a little bit different, and just because you don't have quite as many options, and but you still have every single one. And these ships only hold 264 guests, so they're significantly smaller than our other ships. But every night you still have three different restaurants that you can choose from. Our main restaurant, our colonnade, which also has our Earth and Ocean, is kind of incorporated. Um, and then our sushi in the club. So you always have those, you always have room service. So all those things are just like the ocean experience. Full spa, just like on our ocean. The entertainment's a little bit more dialed back. It's you typically have every night you've got a piano bar for sure. Sometimes there's a show in our Discovery Lounge. Up in the club, there'll be usually like a duet, acoustic guitar and singing. So it's a little bit more dialed down from the ocean, but there's still plenty to do. And it really fits, I think, kind of the vibe of the expedition experience as well. But what's also interesting though, even though these ships are distinctly expedition, you do still get a similar flow of how the ship is kind of laid out than compared to our ocean ship. So it'll be a little bit different, but it's still going to feel like Seabourn.
In terms, is it any higher end? Is it, in terms of luxury, can you expect the same level of luxury?
Absolutely, absolutely. The service is still going to be the same level. It's still that distinctive Seabourn delivery of the service and connection with the team on board. So culinary is still going to be a high-end culinary. So it's absolutely the carrying that hotel experience that we have on our ocean ships to the expedition was pivotal in making this distinctly different in the expedition space.
Good, good, good. And then we have another guest. My screen is showing John Hawkins, but I have a feeling that her name is not John. Will guests only be allowed one reservation per week at Soli, as was the case with Thomas Keller Grill?
Yes, but once you get on board, there will be potentially opportunities to get a second night. Now, on Encore and Ovation, as I mentioned, that those Soli restaurants are larger, their spaces, and we now are able to leverage the patio, which we weren't able to use with Thomas Keller Grill. So that creates a little bit more capacity in those restaurants. So I think there will be a little bit more flexibility there, but yes, still one reservation pre-cruise.
Good. And Ron is asking an interesting question. You mentioned, I believe that Odyssey is being sold in September. I'm on the May cruise from Lisbon to Scandinavia. I'm now concerned that this may be a less than outstanding trip with Seabourn, eliminating Thomas Keller. And now I'm mothballing the ship, other than saying not to.
So it's a
Can I jump in for a second here? If you look the following message,
I'm sorry.
Ron
Yes,
then
yes,
says he's on the
yeah.
Ovation. He's not on the Odyssey.
I'm on the Ovation.
Okay. But even if somebody is booked on Odyssey, I just want to. So one of the conditions of selling the ship, and we weren't going out and trying to sell one of our ships. We had a buyer come and make us an offer we couldn't refuse. So it's just like hey, it's our oldest ship, keeps our fleet young and fresh. But one of the requirements of the offer was the ship has to be turned over to them in the exact same condition as when they were looking at it 2 years ago. So we've had to put work into it to really make sure that it stays at that high level. So even if you're going to sail on Odyssey, it's still gonna be in great shape all the way up until we turn that ship over to the new buyer.
And can you say who the new buyer is?
It's a Japanese buyer,
Okay.
but yeah, they're looking to get to the luxury game as well.
Okay. And so I guess, I guess the question also had a little bit to do with, Thomas Keller going away. How can we reassure Ron that his experience on board with Soli now, replacing Thomas Keller, is going to be as good or even better than whatever he had his experience before?
Yeah, it was definitely some concern to me. Not that it wasn't going to be a great experience, but how it was going to be received. So as I mentioned, it was the first ship, Quest, has been already converted. Now that happened mid sailing on one of our grand sailings, and our grand sailings tend to have a lot of our hardcore diamond elite guests who have been on many times. So we knew that they're going to tell us if this is not as good as Thomas Keller, and we did not get any feedback whatsoever that it was not up to the same level as Thomas Keller Grill. So we couldn't have asked for a better reception from some of our most loyal guests out there. So I think that bodes well for the future here.
That's a good point. Hopefully, Ron, that gives you a little bit of reassurance. I can tell you that, regardless of the ship that you're going to be on, and regardless of whether or not, the ship was being sold or not, whatever, Seabourn is going to be extremely protective of the experience and their brand. And this is a company that has relied upon word of mouth and referrals and positioning themselves as a brand that over delivers on the expectations. So just think about, what that means to Seabourn and how important it is for you to have an experience, even if it's on the last sailing of that ship, because you're not a guest of that ship. You're a guest of Seabourn and a guest of hopefully your agency as well. So
And we just think of it, and we just think as an evolution of culinary, and we always want to be making it better. So it was really kind of pushing the envelope to make it even better.
Yeah. And then John also has another question. Do you incentivize guests to switch booking made direct with Seabourn to LCC? And Steve, before you answer that, let me just kind of address that question.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this: nobody should be incentivizing anybody to move bookings from anywhere to anywhere. Just stating that up front. What we do, there is a policy in place, and maybe Steve can share the policy. What is the policy for transferring a booking from direct?
If anybody had booked direct, and it happens once in a while, they don't know any better, and they book through us, and hey, we're happy to have that business direct, and one of our agents will handle that. But then later on, they might create a relationship with a partner like Luxury Cruise Connections. They're like, well, I'd actually like to move that booking over to them. It's just a simple form that needs to be filled out, just basically providing permission, and that the guest would like to move that booking over, and from there, the travel advisor at Luxury Cruise Connection will take that booking, and now it's theirs, and they will help you and maintain that booking and help you with anything that you need.
And the way it works is essentially in the back end, they're basically adding our credentials to the booking. So now we can provide you service. Now we can access your booking. We can help you with additional stuff. Again, for those that don't know us, we have an entire concierge team that is complementary to our guests. So whenever you're assigned an advisor that you have a relationship with very much directly, and then there's an entire concierge team in the back end that is going to help you with booking shore excursions and booking restaurant reservations and booking pre and post and booking transfers and booking airfare. So all these different things that usually become overwhelming for a lot of our guests when they're planning their trip, we make it very easy, and all that is complimentary as part of our service now that we have access to your booking. Now that said, when we establish a relationship, if there are some LCC promotions going on, you would also be eligible for them as well. But I think the most important thing is that we establish a relationship, we get to know you, and obviously we would love the opportunity to provide you really good service and make you fall in love with us and what we do, how we do things, and give you access to our promotions and special pricing, etc. And at the same time, thankfully, this relationship is this is just how it works. Seabourn very much welcomes that to happen because they understand the value that we as a travel agency provide to the relationship and the booking process and the planning process. So
100%.
how many days from the day of the booking are they allowed to move the booking?
I think they could do it up until final payment.
Okay, all right. Richard was saying he needs to drop out. Yes, Richard, we're going to send the recording. By the way, those that get the recording, we're going to say it one more time. If you have a friend, if you have a family member, you have a neighbor, if anybody that you feel might get value from watching this presentation, they'd also be eligible for the $300 promotion that we talked about. But most importantly, hopefully it'll be an opportunity for them to learn about Seabourn, to learn about Luxury Cruise Connections, and welcome that as well. So feel free to share it in your WhatsApp groups, in your friends, everything. And Robert, how can I view the first 20 minutes of the presentation? Yes, we'll be sending the link. You'll get it. We have a spa penthouse suite on Ovation for 21 nights. Are any spa services included?
The spa services are not included, but you are right, basically like in the spa area. You're really close by, so it's the proximity to be able to go from a spa experience straight to your suite without having to walk through the ship. One thing I will mention on the spa front, though, that we didn't get into is on Ovation and on Encore, we have another space called the Retreat, and it's up on deck 12, and it is this private area. Now we talk, it's one thing I forgot to mention that is an extra cost. We do have private cabanas up there. It is one of the most beautiful spaces on board any of our ships, and you can rent these cabanas per day, and they're really reasonable. Yeah, here it is. This cabanas go for, if it's a port day, it's only $149 per suite. And if it's a sea day, it's $249. That's total. If you had one person or 3 people in your suite and you all get to go and have one of these cabanas, and you get special services up there. It's really quiet and quaint. There's a whirlpool tub up there, and part of your fee there is you get a $50 spa credit. You can use it in the spa, or they also do spa treatments up in the Retreat as well. So this is another incredible experience that I really love this space up there on the ship.
The spa suite, why is it called spa suite?
Because it's basically kind of connected to the spa and wellness area. So you could walk,
What about the amenities?
You can walk like 10 steps from your spa treatment to your suite.
The in-suite amenities are the same, right?
Yeah, but it's more the size of like a penthouse suite, so it's a larger suite.
Right. Okay. And I have a direct message that was sent to me. Please make sure can you clarify about the excursions on expedition? So excursions on expedition, Venture and Pursuit, which are the 2 expedition ships, are basically included in terms that every landing is an excursion. You have Zodiac tours, you have walking tours, all those expeditions, all that is included.
All included. The exception is the submarine.
Yep.
Because not everybody wants to do the submarine. And so the submarine tends to be anywhere between $500 and $1,000 per person. It's about a 45-minute experience. Six guests in the sub at a time. It is like going in another world, and like I'm not a scuba diver, but I think I got at least the experience of what it would be like if you were a scuba diver. So that's one, and then the other is the kayaks. Now the reason the kayaks are not included is because not everybody wants to do a kayak, and we never like to include is similar to the whole shore excursion thing, because our guests will say like our guests will price isn't the issue, it's am I getting the value? So if you're including something that they're not going to use, then sometimes we get pushback. So we know a lot of guests aren't going to want a kayak, so we just made that an extra charge, which it tends to be about around $200 per person. That's a phenomenal experience because we've got kayak guides that go with you. they take the kayaks out and scout a great spot, and then they take you on the Zodiac to the kayaks, and you load from the Zodiac onto the kayaks.
Something we
Nothing
didn't
like
talk
that.
about is you've talked about a lot of onboard credit that is being offered by Seabourn for those experiences.
Yep.
Our guests should know that there's also a lot of LCC promotions, exclusive promotions that we do with additional onboard credit. And because of our relationship with Virtuoso, which is the largest consortium of luxury travel in the world, some of you guys know what I'm talking about, but some of you might not know what Virtuoso is. Virtuoso is basically an entity that was created many years ago that takes the top luxury agencies in the world and the top luxury travel vendors in the world and puts us together where by being part of this consortium, we have dates where you're going to have additional onboard credit exclusive by booking with us. You're also going to have some hosted dates, which are dates where you're going to have a welcome cocktail on board. There's going to be a virtuoso host on board the ship, small groups. I mean, there's a lot going on, thanks to our relationship with Virtuoso that really enhances the experience that much more. So, yeah, I mean, wow. Good questions, guys. Thank you so much
Very
for the
good.
participation. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else that we can answer for you guys? Or anything else that you want to know? Do you want to hit Steve with a curveball? Please do so. He loves those.
Bring it up.
If anybody wants to unmute and participate also live, I welcome that as well. I wanna say hi to some of my friends that I see on the call, guests of Luxury Cruise Connections that have done business with us for a long time. I don't want to go through all the names, but Cheryl, how are you? Thank you for joining us as always.
Cheryl.
Ilda, you joined us on our last one as well. Thank you for joining us on this one too. Wow, I see a lot of names. I don't want to miss anybody, so I don't feel comfortable going through all the names, but I just did a quick glance, and I want to thank you all for participating and sharing this little bit over an hour, almost an hour and 20 minutes with us today, because it is important for us. And thank you, Robert. I know you gotta go. Again, we're gonna send these presentation over to everybody, but I want to thank everybody for joining us and spending this precious time with us. We do this with the purpose of sharing information, sharing expertise, opening up a window for you guys to ask questions, an opportunity for those that haven't learned about these brands to learn, for those that have sailed before and or have an existing booking to ask questions about your future trips. And also, like I said, an opportunity for you to get to know us, Luxury Cruise Connections, and get to know what we do and how we deliver service and what we believe in. We know that people will do business with us because they share the same beliefs of being client-centric. You want an agency that understands what you as a guest need, what you expect in terms of service, both in your planning process as well as during your trip and post-trip as well. Our relationships allow us to escalate whatever situation that might happen very quickly. But most importantly, our setup and infrastructure allows us to deliver an experience that you would rarely get anywhere else. And so without any further, without delaying this any longer, I want to, Steve, thank you for your time. Jessi, you've been kind of in the background there. Let me add you here. For those that don't know Jessi Jessi is the guy that we email and call at any day, any hour in the day.
Yes.
Thank you so much for everything that you do for us.
It's a pleasure.
And we appreciate it very much. We appreciate the relationship. And again, thank you for doing this and for the opportunity to share this with our guests. And
well, thank you everybody who took the time today to listen. I hope it was informative, and Carlos and Denise, thank you so much for the partnership. You guys are the best, and we love working with you and love the relationship, and yeah, looking forward to building the business more.
There you go. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you everybody, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Contact us at luxurycruiseconnections.com.